It's Friday, the 22nd of July, 2022. Welcome to the Fast Five by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, 5 stories in 5 minutes. Let's jump into it. Story number 1, things are heating up in Canberra with the newly minted government under fire on COVID, the potential spread of foot and mouth disease, and its emissions reduction promises.
Yes, that's right. Federal Parliament resumes next week. The rhetoric is certainly amping up. One of the immediate concerns is the potential for foot and mouth disease to enter Australia, most likely via Indonesia. Now, viral fragments were found in pork products in Melbourne this week. Some senior opposition members are calling for a closing of the borders. The farmers don't quite want that. The government said there's no silver bullet to this threat, but it's keeping a close watch on it. COVID infection rates are jumping. There were 55,000 reported cases yesterday and 89 deaths. It's been a while since we've had those sorts of numbers. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said, notwithstanding the numbers, there was no indication from the premiers or chief ministers that Australia would return to broad COVID-19 mandates. Aged care is about to attract a lot of attention. The government's added its $2.5 billion aged care reform agenda to its legislative priorities from next week. And of course, climate change. That'll get plenty of headlines. Mr. Albanese yesterday was adamant that the government won't back down from its promise to legislate that emissions be reduced by 43% from 2005 levels by the end of this decade. Challenge is getting the Greens on side.
All right, on to story number 2, Sean. And China has claimed that the AUKUS submarine agreement, which is between the US, UK and Australia, may be a furtive attempt by Canberra to develop nuclear energy.
A 32-page report from China's foreign ministry says the nuclear-powered submarines collaboration will set a dangerous precedent for the transfer of weapons-grade nuclear materials from nuclear states to a non-nuclear state, i.e. Australia. It's the latest missive from Beijing and is part of China's efforts to sink the sub deal. Beijing has already signalled it will take its opposition to the pact to the United Nations Non-Proliferation Conference, which is scheduled from August 1.
Sean, story number 3, Environment Minister Tanya Plibersek is considering whether to impose a temporary halt on the development of a $4.3 billion Western Australian fertiliser plant that Indigenous leaders say will threaten ancient rock art.
She confirmed she'd received a request for what's called a Section 9 declaration, which under federal heritage protection laws would allow her to temporarily halt the plant. Now, Perth-based Perdaman Chemicals and Fertilisers has agreed not to begin any work in the next few weeks on its planned urea plant on the Burrup Peninsula south of Karratha. It's a very touchy subject, this one, ever since Rio Tinto exploded 60,000-year-old rock caves containing Indigenous art back in 2020. No one wants a repeat of that disaster, and no government wants to oversee anything similar.
Absolutely. All right, story number 4, Sean. Treasury Wine Estates has lifted the price of a bottle of Penfolds Grange to $1,000 for the new 2018 vintage. It's the first time that mark has been breached for a new release.
And apparently high-end wine buyers are pretty happy to pay it. The last 2 years' releases, that's the 2016 and the 2017 vintages, were priced at $950. Now it's hit that 4-figure mark. Managing Director of Treasury, Tom King, said there was rising demand for the brand's luxury wines and the shift to high-end drops generally continues. So is it worth it? Well, the 2018 grape harvest was of high quality, the experts say. So it is pretty expensive, but compared to a sale late last year of a 1951 Grange, which went for $157,000, $1,000 ain't that bad.
I tell you what, Sean, the cost of living crisis, you've got electricity, fuel, lettuces. Now you can't even get a bottle of Grange for under $1,000.
It's rough. It's
It
very
sure
rough.
is. Finally, story number 5, Sean. Elon Musk, the Tesla boss, has called the price of lithium insane, but he's also delivered a pretty good result for the electric vehicle maker.
Yes, Mr. Musk urged all entrepreneurs to get into lithium processing or refining and said, quote, "You cannot lose," as lithium hydroxide processing was another quote, license to print money. Okay, we're not an investment podcast. Get some professional help on that one. And remember, Elon Musk is talking his own book. He wants lots of lithium production, so the price comes down and it makes it cheaper for his Tesla EVs. Mr. Musk said Tesla had sold 75% of its Bitcoin holdings as well over the quarter. That was to help fund production. The group's profit fell 32% during the June quarter from record levels thanks to supply chain issues. But Michael, it still made $2.26 billion, which was actually better than expected.
Yeah, not too bad at all. All right, there we go. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Friday, the 22nd of July, 2022. Remember to hit follow on the podcast. And if 5 minutes isn't long enough for you, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast Five by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.